Well, there were two. I got there after the first, first was already out, and the second one was deep, over my head, I would say.
Two men?
I believe. I don't want to say for sure.
Yeah.
It looked like they had been shot?
I can't say.
Were they in suits?
No.
No.
Naked?
Leisure clothes?
No. It was very hard to tell. They'd been in the ground.
About 3 foot down, we ran into the first body. Of course,
State Wildlife Division Supervisor Dick Hudson and a friend discovered the bodies last night. A farmer who leases this state land just north of Morocco, Indiana, had called them to say it looked like something had been buried near the edge of his new corn crop. After a little digging, Hudson made the grisly find.
We hit him somewhere along in the side. I told Dylan, hey, this don't look like any animal skin I've ever seen unless it's human. And we dug around a little bit till we came to his skivvies or his underwear, and we decided that was far enough, and we left.
As has been the case in many mafia hits, both victims were only wearing their underwear. Sources say that shows they now may hide nothing. Indiana State Police tonight say one Spilotro had on cotton shorts, the other exotic nylon see-through underwear. Their clothes have not been found.
I think you have to say, after viewing the crime scene, that in certain aspects of the double homicide were botched by the assassins or by the murderers. The depth of the hole goes at least 5 feet. It's very, very clear to us from a law enforcement perspective that the persons responsible for this left the scene of the crime with the anticipation that the remains would not ever be found.
Anthony Little Tony Spilotro and his brother Michael were not found for 9 days. The only sign of the pair was their Lincoln Mark 7 automobile, found parked in a motel parking lot near O'Hare Field. Federal agents tonight believe the Spilotros were driven to Indiana in this car, which is believed to have been torched after the brothers were buried. The burned-out automobile was found about 2 miles due west of the gravesite, right down there. The car roughly halfway to a farm, reportedly once owned by jailed Chicago godfather Joseph Joey O'Brien Iupa. Could it be that the Spilotros were driven down here believing they were to meet with fellow mobsters at Iupa's secluded rural home?
I would have to say yes, it does pique our interest, yes.
He still owns that farm? Does he still own that farm?
I have no further questions about Mr. Iupa.
The battered remains of Anthony and Michael Spilotro arrived by hearse tonight here at the Salerno Funeral Home on the far west side. The bodies of the gangland victims left Indiana University Medical Center here in Indianapolis late this afternoon following completion of autopsies. Tonight, the 5-foot deep hole where the Spilotros were temporarily buried has been filled in, while Indiana State Police detectives poked through areas bordering the cornfield looking for clues. Federal agents today visited this heavily secured home and parcel of land about 3 miles from the gravesite. Investigators say the property was once owned by jailed Chicago crime boss Joseph Iupa. The then godfather ran a hunting ground here called the Yorkshire Quail Club. Police say it catered to sharp-shooting thugs until the mid-'70s, when the state put Joey the Doves Iupa out of business.
He supposedly shot too many doves out west someplace or something, which was a felony. And I think the Conservation Department, if I remember right, closed him down here, took the gun club license away from him.
Vandervliet says underworld hunters then moved to this club a few miles away. The Pinewood Hunt Club is complete with a one-armed bandit, Las Vegas-style slot machine, and an antique barber chair, reminiscent of those sat in by many mobsters killed while getting their hair cut. And we have learned tonight Tony Spilotro's brother Patrick, for years, ran a dentist practice not far from here before moving to the North Shore. Tonight in Tucson, Arizona, former FBI agent Bill Romer, now a special consultant to the Chicago Crime Commission, says the choice of grave sites was most unusual.
Because ordinarily, when they hit somebody, they want the guy to be found right away. They want the body to be found right away because it serves as a deterrent for the rest of the mob who might be walking in the shoes in the same path as the bad guy, in their opinion.
The Spilotros will be laid out here, although funeral plans are not expected to be completed until tomorrow. The brothers are both to be buried in Chicago, this time side by side in a cemetery instead of on top of each other in a cornfield. It should be very clear tonight that even executive-level syndicate positions don't offer life insurance fringe benefits.
At this point in time, there will be no comment.
This woman who answered the Spilotro's front door in west suburban Oak Park identified herself as Arlene Spilotro, the wife of one of the 3 surviving brothers. She told me she'd like to comment on the archdiocesan decision to prohibit Anthony and Michael Spilotro from receiving a Catholic burial, but she said the family had already suffered enough. The Archdiocese today released a statement saying the decision is based on church law and that there is precedent for the ruling. The statement reads, "Decisions of this kind are difficult and delicate. They rest on the need to balance the good of the family, who may desire the services of the church, with the good of believers and others, to whom scandal may be given by provision of a church funeral." Michael Spilotro and his family were longtime members of St. Bernardine Church here in west suburban Forest Park. An ad for Michael's restaurant appears in the last church bulletin, even though his name is spelled wrong. A priest here this afternoon told me the decision against the Spilotros is not meant to judge their guilt or innocence.
It's a very difficult decision to make, with all the notoriety that came with their disappearance, and especially Anthony's reputation and the indictments and stuff that have come up. In the parish, while we knew Michael was under indictment, we never really were sure, never really felt from our own experience and from talking to neighbors that he was really that heavily involved with all of this. But I guess there is a thing called guilt by association or something like that, and it must apply in this instance.
Friends of the Spilotro family this afternoon came to the Salerno Funeral Home here on the far west side. They brought with them final resting clothes for the dearly departed. The brothers' bodies arrived here last night by hearse from the Indiana University Medical Center, where they underwent autopsy.